Oh, hey, Alex.
All right. Hey.
I'm
Hey,
sorry,
Evan.
I'm
Thanks for joining.
snack here. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I'm actually it's like past dinner time. I'm really hungry. So
Yeah.
what is it that you got there?
Well, I am eating the snacks that my company, Peaceful Fruits, makes. So I have
Oh.
a company. We're about a year and a half old. It's called Peaceful Fruits, and the
And
fruit
you
is
make snacks.
and we make snacks. Yeah, it's basically like a fancy fruit roll up, and
Ooh.
it's the main fruit is acai, which is harvested.
Acai.
Yeah,
That's fun to
whatever.
say.
It is fun to say. People are like, how do you say that? But however you want, right?
Just
Well,
spell it out. The
yeah,
acai, the
that's what I.
thing that everyone's talking about right now, the new superfood.
Yeah, exactly. Um, but uh, but yeah, so that's the main fruit, and it's peaceful because it's all harvested wild in the Amazon where I was a Peace Corps volunteer. You can see I'm very creative with my naming conventions. Um, it only took me
So we
like,
have a fruit. It was peaceful,
mhm.
peaceful fruits. I think we got it.
Right, right. I mean, it only took me like 6 weeks of arguing with my friends and everyone who knows me to like come up with a name that I could like, and then it was the most obvious one ever. So, what can you do?
So what were some of the contenders?
Well, I was really holding out for Blue Dart Foods.
All right, all right. That's really, once I hear blue dart, that's something I definitely want to eat.
Yeah, that was
I
pretty
feel like
much
it's gonna stab me.
yeah, that was the knock on it. But that's like a very famous frog from Suriname where I did my Peace Corps
Isn't
service.
it
Is the
poisonous?
Yeah, that's why we ended up
Okay.
vetoing that name. But I really liked it. I just had the idea for like a really cute logo, and like there was a big little froggy, and who doesn't, like the Rainforest Alliance frog, So
Yeah, who doesn't want to have something, like an action that's dangerous with dart and a poisonous frog? That's exactly what you want to
that's
ingest.
that's why you vet your ideas before you just dive in. So we ended up with Peaceful Fruits.
Well, I like peaceful fruits. It sounds much more appetizing. So, bravo to all your friends who you vetted it
Who
through.
talked me out of Blue Dart. Yeah, what can I do?
Um, Although I do like the name Blue Dart. Maybe, we had
Right?
Kateka earlier, and maybe that can be like a new trip that they have in the Amazon where they're
There
actually.
you go.
He was talking about this trip they do in Chile where they go down on the river and they're like actually shooting darts. So
Oh,
there you go.
I don't know. That's a little too unpeaceful. I don't want to shoot any darts. I never hit the board, so.
There you go. Well, I'll play you in darts because, maybe I'll have a shot.
Yeah, I'm really bad at that game.
So, Evan, how long ago did you complete your term of service?
Yeah, so I did Peace Corps from 2011 until 2013.
Okay.
And as I kind of mentioned there, I was in Suriname, which is a little country in South America, just northeast of Brazil.
Okay.
So it's just there on the coast, and it's a tiny little country, like maybe about the size of Ohio or Georgia or something like that. And it's a pretty small, like around 1 million people live there, and almost all of those live in the city. So the rest of them are that, like 50,000 or 100,000 or so are just spread out through the rest of the jungly interior. And that's
The
where I did my
jungle
Peace Corps.
interior.
Yes, the Virgin Amazon. And so that's where I was as a Peace Corps volunteer, was smack dab in the middle of the Amazon. About a 4 hour drive once the road got finished. It wasn't finished when I got there. And then a 2 or 3 hour canoe trip to get to where I was living. So like
That's so crazy. You could only get to your place by canoe
well, if you had
and
a
an unfinished
helicopter, you
road.
could get there by helicopter too. But I
Of
just didn't
course.
happen to have one. So
I got mine parked outside.
nice.
I'll just come pick you up and we can have snacks.
I mean, I'm about it. Yeah, we can go right to the stores.
There you go. So what was your role there?
Yeah. So
Besides, master canoeer.
right. Well, they were motorized canoes. I should say that. It wasn't
What?
like.
I've never heard of such a thing.
Then I guess you haven't hung out in the Amazon enough. Clearly, you need to get down there. But
Obviously.
it's just like a giant dugout canoe, like I mean giant, like 4, 5, 6 meters long. So 20, 30, 40 feet long. There'd be 30 people in the canoe, and then they just slap it out. Yeah, yeah. They'll put an outboard motor on it, and you just zip along and dodge the rocks, hopefully. Um,
That
But
sounds prudent.
yeah, it's the right way. But yeah, so I was before Peace Corps, I did general management and operations management for a industrial supply company, which is super exciting. And
With the tone and the just enthusiasm you had in your voice, that's exactly where I was going with it.
yeah, exactly, it was super exciting. So after doing that for like 4 or 5 years, I just got bored with it and really wanted to do something more impactful. So I was able to take those operations skills and I was a community economic development specialist there in Suriname. So I did project management, I did entrepreneurial support, and that kind of stuff, doing like projects that were all their focus in the village for small business owners and for the village as a whole.
Interesting. So let me get this straight. You actually, I'm guessing there was college, then into corporate America,
Yep.
and then to the Peace Corps.
Yeah, I kind of took the zigzag approach. I definitely looked at Peace Corps right after college, but at the time it just I really wanted to make money. It seemed like a good idea, and there was this girl, and I was like, whatever. Like, it just wasn't a good time to leave the U.S. But when
Those darn girls.
those darn girls, right? But anyway, so after working for 3 or 4 years, like, I'd always had a plan that I would get. I had certain goals that I'd established in that company. Like, I wanted to get promoted to this level and do these kind of things. And when I had started to accomplish those goals, it was time to jump out, right? To move on to the next thing. And so my default plan was business school, right? What you do, and or at least what a lot of my friends were doing, I should say. And but then when I was working on those, I started to visit the schools and do the application process, and I realized that I really owed it to myself to think a little bit more broadly about what it means to spend 2 years not making money, in the sense of, like, if you're going to take 2 years not making money, what can you do to enrich yourself that is really going to change your life and make an impact? And so I started to think more and more about Peace Corps again, because it's the same thing, right? It's 2 years, you're not making any money, you don't have to go into debt, which is like really nice. You learn a lot about yourself, you learn a lot about a new skill set. And so I decided I was literally like applying to like Harvard Business School and Peace Corps at the same time.
There you go.
And after a couple weeks of that, it was just the Peace Corps application that I was excited to work on. And so I decided to listen to my heart and withdraw from applying to the fancy business schools and just focus on Peace Corps.
I absolutely love that you bring that up. And that's actually been a parallel of something that we've touched on this week, is the really tactical lessons that a year of service or 2 years teaches you that a lot of times you don't even get in business school. And Anna was even touching on it earlier, that especially with nonprofit management, you could either go in your degree. You're most likely going to have debt. It is a good experience, so it's nothing against that. But you could also go and do a term of service, and it's such a much more rewarding and comprehensive experience. And like you said, you don't go into debt. So when you which is all a perk, right?
It's huge, yeah.
So when you're comparing kind of your experience to your friends who are going to business school, what were lessons that you got from your term of service that you found that they didn't get in their experience?
So what I think that you can get in a term of service, and this is sort of true of a lot of different things, of internships, of volunteering of any kind, but especially in a term of service where you're abroad or even you're just in a new situation here in the U.S. or wherever. When you're there as a new outsider who's free, you're often given tasks that people would never pay you to do, right? Like,
interesting.
So if someone had to say, like, all right, we want to set up a market system for how to introduce solar lighting into the interior of Suriname, like, that's a big deal, right? Like, you could write a grant to the Inter-American Development Bank, get $100,000 grant, spend $20,000 of that on consultants, spend another $30,000 of that on a conference, and so on and so forth, right? Like, that's a big deal. Or you could just have a Peace Corps volunteer with nothing better to do in the jungle, like, try, because it doesn't cost you anything when they mess up, or if they fail. And
that's such a unique way to look at it. Is this like an experience that you actually had?
Yeah, I started that and it's still going strong. So,
Really?
I mean, but that's the, yeah, it was a really cool project actually. We sort of, well, just to tell the story, there's no electricity for the most part in the interior of Suriname, and big solar installations are out of scope for what most people can afford. And so what we wanted to do was we wanted to bring in small solar devices like solar lanterns that would allow you to, recharge your cell phone and keep the lights on when the sun goes down. Um, and yeah, so we basically I did a 3-tiered project where I developed. It cost about $5,000, which I was able to raise very easily from a couple of different small grant writing things, and a chunk of that money went to educational materials that boosted demand. So, like, what is green energy? Why is it cool? Why would you want to have a solar lantern instead of a kerosene lamp? Which I think we can all think of some easy reasons, right? Like your house won't burn down, and you can
Kind
charge
of
your
a
cell
perk.
phone, right?
I like
And
perks.
perks, right? And then on the other hand, we boosted supply by subsidizing a relationship between a major manufacturer of solar devices and a bunch of small local entrepreneurs and small businesses. And then we also boosted those small entrepreneurs by basically saying, we'll give you the first order, we'll cover the shipping and 50% of the first order. So it's not as big a risk for them to try. Um, and then we just got out of the way and did a couple trainings, handed off the materials, helped the guys get their first order, and the women. It was quite a few women actually. And then just got out of the way because people started buying them, and then they were making profit, and so they didn't need me anymore. And I was like, all right, I'll be in my hammock.
This
But that's
sounds
the
like
kind of
quite the experience. You have your motorized canoe, you got your hammock.
right, right.
But going back to the project, that is such a comprehensive project with so many different tactical tools. I mean, even understanding the role of when it's time to leave the project and let those people that you've equipped to do it. I mean, that's just such a big business one. Anyways, like learning to delegate and learning to let go of tasks, that's essential for business, not just for Peace Corps.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's definitely one of the things that I've been very lucky in my business and my service experience has been. I've been and just in my personal life, I actually teach martial arts. Is sort of my after school job, so to speak. And what's interesting is that being a martial arts instructor, being I was a boss when I was at that industrial supply company. Like when people were like, "Yeah, the man's making me stay late today," they meant me, which is just a weird feeling. Like people calling you boss non-ironically, that is a weird feeling. Um, but and then in Peace Corps, of course, where you're facilitative leadership, and so those are very different leadership styles that are required. Where sometimes you're leading from the front, sometimes you're leading from the side, sometimes you're leading from the back, and to really gain facility with those different styles, I think is so important, especially as an entrepreneur, because you have to wear all the different hats, right? Like sometimes I know exactly what needs to be done, and I'm the only one that can do it. And anyone that says no, I'm just going to bulldoze right over them because it's my company, it's my baby. And then other times I have no idea what I'm doing, and I need to find someone that can help me, and so I have to kind of get out of the way while still helping the process move forward. So you don't learn that kind of lesson in business school, that's for sure.
And what a really comprehensive and so essential lesson. I mean, what you really touched on there too is leading. That sometimes you said facilitating from the side, going from the front, leading from the back. That is crucial. And I know with my term of service, there was so much emphasis on facilitating, on leadership. You're right. I didn't get that in school. But
No,
you can't do it you can't work on teams. You can't run a business without those types of skills.
absolutely. And I mean, and that goes back to my kind of earlier point of when you're there and you're just present, in your job, even as a term of service, obviously, it's a job in that sense. Like when you're present and you're available and you're cheap, you get the chance to make some of those mistakes and to learn how to do it. Where maybe if someone wouldn't pay you to learn that, they'll happily let you come in and, oh, I don't have to pay you. You're free right now. You're free to me. Yeah, come on in and try this out. And so you get to really take risks that you wouldn't if your job and your paycheck was on the line. But people are willing to risk it when you're there as a volunteer. So it's a cool chance to really push yourself.
Free to me. What a great term.
Free to me. That's right.
We do have a great question, and it's how many employees does Peaceful Fruits have right now?
So if you are the IRS and you're asking, the question is 0. That whole that whole like
record 0 employees. Check.
Yeah. So we one of the great things about well, the convenient things about the approach that we've taken so far is we do a team-based labor system. So we work with 2 different organizations that do clinical and vocational therapy for folks with developmental disabilities. And so those are the people that help us produce our snacks. And then in the Amazon, where we source our acai, same thing. There's a co-op of farmers that are harvesting the berries that grow the berries that grow wild there on the trees. So from a tax point of view, none of those people work for me directly. They're independent organizations, which is great both from a business point of view, because then I don't have to deal with all those HR, tax, IRS things. And then also from an organizational and sustainability point of view, I don't want to be their only client, right? I don't want to be their only customer. I want these to be functional organizations and functional teams that can reach out and make money and be sustainable from people beyond me. And I'm so glad to facilitate that. And so that's definitely overall what I found is like in this space, you have to work just a little bit harder to set it up. But once it's set up, it can be very convenient. It can be very cost effective. And, you can do things really the right way as a social enterprise while still meeting a bottom line. So it's awesome.
First, I do need to do a shout out to Mindy. Thank you for not mentioning this to the IRS, because apparently she does work. But it's
so it's 10 is the answer though. 10. We have 2 interns that work directly for Peaceful Fruits as interns, and then we have 2 teams of 5 to 7 part-time developmentally disabled individuals that work for us as part of our production team and then our packaging team. So 10
one of the other things you said that I thought was so cool is that one of the benefits of this model is that you're not the only customer, or you're not their only source of income. That when you work with these individuals, that you're kind of encouraging them to diversify revenue streams.
Right.
Was that just something that was kind of a byproduct of this system, or is that something very intentional you went in with?
It's a good question. I think intentional is a very big word that we entrepreneurial people, which I know you are one as well, we are definitely building the plane as we take off, so to speak, I think.
So of course it was intentional, right?
It was fully intentional. I thought of it for at least a week before it happened. And yes and no. So what was intentional is the trajectory that we were on that led us to that relationship. I did not set out when I founded Peaceful Fruits, I did not set out to be working with the community of people with developmental disabilities. What I was focused on the Amazon side, but what you realize as you start moving forward is, we care about community economic development. We care about environmentally sustainability. And so it quickly leads you to, the next steps. Like, okay, well, if we care about environmental sustainability for the acai and for the people in the Amazon, then we should probably think about that with our packaging. Like, how can we say that we're saving the environment if we're using, crappy plastic packaging? So we don't. This is compostable. It looks like plastic, but it's not.
What? That's so cool.
Yeah. And then you're like, oh, well, maybe we, do we have to use organic ingredients? Do we have to use local ingredients? And then, you keep going down that down path where what's in keeping with the mission of the company. But of course, and then, you start to make business decisions around what's in keeping with both the mission while still being profitable and, not confusing your message. Like, if I don't want to have like 14,000 things on my packaging saying like, well, we're kosher, we're vegan, we're paleo, we're, like you start to lose the customer's attention after a while. So you have to make some business decisions. But that's how we got to the labor force point, where if we can have a labor force that fits into our approach, just makes that much more sense. So
I'm so glad that you kind of brought that, and you have to really align with your mission, because sometimes it could be a rabbit hole. Right. And especially, as you mentioned, you're a year and a half old. That's kind of a lot of different things to tackle in your first year. You really do need to say, well, what is our mission? So this is our mission, so we're going to align here. And then later down the road, you can start to incorporate some of these other things, which is just a really exciting space. And just, kind of a glimpse of your future. Yesterday, we had Neil from Three Twins Ice Cream join us, and
Cool.
he's, like a decade in, I believe.
Wow.
And so now he's able to actually go to suppliers and work with them and say, this needs to be fair trade. This needs to be organic. And he has that purchasing power. So just a really cool reminder of
Jealous.
well, you'll have to listen in because it was some rough beginnings too.
Yeah, I'll check it out. I know how that goes. Oh god, the rough beginnings.
So yeah, but just that reminder of really aligning with your mission, and especially so many in the social entrepreneur space, there's so many different things that we can get distracted by. And we got to really align with our mission and say, this is where we are here, and this is where we are now, and this is where we get to focus.
That is definitely true. And I think part of the problem, I'll put it the other way. One of the nice things about my background is that, I kind of try to deny that I'm like a bleeding heart, tree huggery kind of a person. So I have a strong business background, right? Like I was an operations manager of a boring industrial company. Like I bossed guys around on forklifts for 4 years.
You were the man.
I was the man, right? Like, it's terrible. Oh God. So glad I'm not in that anymore. But anyway, so I try to come at social enterprise and food and even my Peace Corps service from that same business-minded approach where, this has to be profitable in some way. Otherwise it's not going to be sustainable. Where if people can't, that's what, the number one lesson I learned from being a Peace Corps volunteer is that if people can't make money at what you're doing or some other tangible doesn't have to be tangible, but some other real visible value, then it's not going to last when you stop subsidizing it. And it's, you can't subsidize forever unless you just won Powerball, in which case you need some money.
I think we all, could use a little bit of help. Although actually I did see it was run by like 3 or 4 different people. So, they only have like a couple 100 million.
Right. Each. Yeah. They've still got it tough. But the point is, so to take that little bit more, not hard nosed, but just really thinking about what's important, like you said, and making the priorities. I want to change the way that people think about the Amazon, right? Like I want to change the way that people source fruit from the Amazon. Like that's my long-term goal. Mm-hmm. But to get there, I have to sell a lot of fruit snacks. And so this is something that I have a business partner, and, he and I always talk about this, like, 80% of nothing is nothing, right? Like 40% of a lot is a lot. And so you really have to choose what to focus on. And that's where, like, for us, the most important thing to me in my product is that acai is the main ingredient. There's no other product on the market. Literally, there's no other product that you can find where acai is actually the main ingredient of an acai product. Like maybe some of the acai juices, but even there, often it's apple juice. And so for a snack, there's nothing that has acai that's, where you can actually eat acai, drinking, whatever. But that's the most important thing to me from a mission perspective, from a food perspective. But like, does it have to be organic? I don't think it does. That's not the critical thing. I love being organic. We are organic. I love being organic. But to me, if at some point, the cost isn't there, the benefit isn't there, like I'd be okay sacrificing that and the mission wouldn't die. So just being able to make those mission versus business decisions where like, no, this is what's core to the vision and this is what's great. But if it's a choice between that and not growing and not, upping our impact by getting into another 1,000 stores or getting national distribution or whatever it is, then, you have to make those calls.
Oh, such a great business sense. I'm just loving it. But you did tangent into the product, and I do really want to talk about the product. Where did the idea for fruit snacks come from?
My dad, actually, randomly.
There you go.
Heck yeah. When I got back from Peace Corps, I was looking at basically I had 2 goals. I said no to a job in Africa that was in green energy, doing solar lantern stuff, more solar energy stuff. And so I realized, like, if I'm going to say no to that perfect job, I have to create my own better job. So that's where I was like, I'm going to start a company. It's going to be working with people in the jungle. And acai, I had a lot of friends that produce acai down in Suriname. So we started looking at different ways to do acai, but we realized very quickly that we needed to do a value-added snack, a value-added product in order to be competitive in the marketplace. Like, unless you have a huge amount of capital, you're not going to be able to do raw materials. There, you're talking about shipping container loads, and you have to sell 1,000 tons before you're going to make any. You're going to be sustainable.
That's a
It's a huge investment. Yeah,
that's just a little bit.
Right. And there's so many more. I saw someone asked about certifications at some point possibly. And there's so much more, import-export stuff, certifications around health and safety. So a value-added snack where you just take fruit, blend it up, and dry it is pretty easy, and the FDA is pretty forgiving. So it makes it a lot easier to get started. And so we still are absolutely looking at doing the raw materials piece as we grow. But the snack was an easier way to start. And it was actually my dad who came up with doing it as a fruit snack. He was like, "You should make fruit leather, son." And I was like,
fruit leather?
That's what it's called technically, is fruit leather. He was like, "I made blueberry fruit leather once. It was great. Let's make some acai fruit leather." And I was like, "All right, let's do it." So we put it in my mom's oven, and out it came. And we were like, "Done. Let's sell it."
So basically what I'm hearing is that the men in your family have really great naming capabilities for food. That's what I'm hearing back.
I mean, what can I say? The praise is so strong.
So one of the things, and I know we're running out of time, but the health food industry is a tough industry to be in. What is it like trying to break into that market?
It's tough. And we're definitely getting to the point now, about a year and a half in, we did about basically 6 months of R&D to really figure out the product, like what to call it, how to package it, mostly what to call it, apparently, the exact recipe.
We were all grateful for that time that you spent there to come up with Peaceful Fruits, by the way.
And then we did about 6 months of pilot sales, and then we launched our larger, large by like a couple thousand a week, production relationship with that folks with developmental disabilities. We launched that in August. So since August, we've sold about 11,000 snacks, which sounds like a huge number to me. I don't know you or not, but
I think that's pretty good. I'm
pretty cool with it.
I'm comparing you to podcast downloads at the moment.
Yeah, but of course on that sale we make like 20 cents per sale.
We gotta sell a lot of fruit leather.
We gotta sell a lot of fruit leather. Not quite 1,000 tons, but still a lot. And so that's definitely. And while we've sold 11,000, over half of those have been below cost, so not even making that 20 cents. And then we've given away another like 2,000 or so. And that's pretty much what you learn in the food industry, is that people love your mission, they love the story, but ultimately it's a food, and so they got to eat it or they're not going to take it. And so they got to like to eat it. And so that's where we are right now, is as we're scaling up, looking for more and more ways just to get the snacks in front of people and get them in people's hands. And so, moving forward, like that's probably going to be what we're going to seek funding for, is like people are going to be like, "All right, what are you going to do with this money?" I'm like, "I'm going to use it to give people things for free."
Like, that's what every investor wants to hear.
Right. I'm such a good salesman, but that's really what it is just how to break out to just get into people's hands and mouths, so they know like this is not just a great story, but it's tasty, it's delicious, it's nutritious, and that's kind of what we're working on. Like that's actually funny. I actually do have a pitch coming up in a couple of months for a social good enterprise. So we're going to work
with you on that pitch.
I like it.
Yeah, but, let us know how that one goes.
Like, give me money so I can give people free food.
Yeah, we're going to work on that. We're going to go offline and we're going to work on that.
I just depend on the wink and the gun. See, you have to now.
There you go. Everyone in our audience is opening up their wallets, giving away free food. Check. No. Well, we are actually at 7:00. This half an hour just like went by so crazy fast.
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm really sad right now.
I mean, I've got time, but
Well, I mean, if you got a couple minutes, we might just extend just a little bit.
Yeah, we can keep going.
My co-host is giving me messages. Well,
She's saying it's 0 o'clock.
She is reminding me of the clock. Especially since you did such an untraditional role that you really came out, you had this intense business background, you had all these skills. And then, a lot of times when people look at these terms of service, they always say like, you're putting your career on pause, that you're kind of like giving away this time, that you're not moving forward. What advice do you have for somebody who's currently in a role that they're not being fulfilled in, that they're, looking at possibly going back to school or going to service? What advice do you have for them?
So I think, there's kind of two sides to that. So, as a younger person who's looking at like getting a career on hold, I would say just very quickly, as a plug for Peace Corps, there aren't very many young people that are going to take a job, work for 2 years, and then come out with $7,000 in the bank in savings. Whereas when you get out of Peace Corps, you get a readjustment amount. So there is actually, it's not bad financially. But to focus on your question, I think that people people think that they have to do something big and dramatic in order to make an impact, both personally and professionally. And I don't think that's true. It's funny because I chose to do that, and it's been a huge impact personally, professionally. And I'm so glad that I did it. I'm not in any way advocating against that. But a lot of people are like, well, I have a mortgage, or I'm just not ready to move to the middle of the jungle in Suriname and not have any electricity and sleep in a hammock every day.
That last part is kind of appealing. I mean, let's be honest.
I liked it. But 2 years, hammock. I think I got taller. But anyway.
I'm going to Thailand soon, and we're totally, packing a Thailand. We're packing a hammock.
Do it. But anyway, there are so many great organizations now that allow you to find that type of service without having to go so far abroad. Like both, Peace Corps, they're integrating that type of thing more and more, where you can do what's called Peace Corps response, where if you have a specific skill set, or you've been a Peace Corps volunteer or AmeriCorps, I believe, before, you can do like a 3 to 9 month project where there's like, we need a nurse, or we need a second grade teacher, or we need someone who speaks Spanish and can do, a youth gym class. And so if you have that skill set, you can go live for 3 months in Mongolia and do that. You don't have to sign up for 2 years. Or there's other great organizations. One that I actually almost worked for after Peace Corps, called like Katchafire, is this great organization where they basically, it's like dating for professionals and pro bono opportunities. So like you are, you're a lawyer and you want to help people, that's easy, right? But if you're a project manager and you'd love to be helping out a small, social goods startup, or a nonprofit food bank or something like that on the side, they match you up with like bite-sized projects that you can add into your day. So there's a lot of ways to find that value without necessarily chucking it all and moving. So if you want to do it, just bite the bullet and do it. But if you're not sure, there's lots of halfway steps you can take to kind of baby step into it.
2 things. NGS Movement can actually help you get matched with some of those different opportunities. They have a great database at ngsmovement.org. Check. Yep.
Look at that.
And then, right? It's not even me. And secondly, oddly enough, that is not the first reference to a dating service that we've had this week. Alicia with My Edge matches teachers with the right teaching opportunity. Much cool. Like a dating service. So apparently there's a lot of parallels with dating apps. To all the single folks out there, be paying attention. Right? Oh, and Evan apparently didn't work out with that girl that you kind of paused with at one point.
Oh yeah, I don't know, maybe. Yeah.
That was a wishy-washy answer. Anyways, we're gonna.
I don't remember telling you about a girl that I paused with, so I don't know. But
oh well, you didn't go after Peace Corps because there was some girl.
Oh yeah, got it. No, that one did not work out, unfortunately. No.
All right, so Evan, you can share all the different dating apps you're on now.
I think I'm on Entrepreneur. That's about it. So it's like my baby, my girlfriend.
Sounds like you have to share.
Yeah, I always give it away for free. I'm a terrible boyfriend, apparently.
With that, I think we're actually going to wrap up tonight because that was hilarious. But Evan, we're going to have to get you on my podcast. So
Anytime.
if you want more of some of this, like, just snazzy wit that we've had all night, check out the Positive Impact podcast probably in the next couple of months. But just a reminder to everyone, head on over to journey-to-socialentrepreneurship.com. We are going to have replays available in the next couple of weeks. If you give us your email, you also get access to the free Facebook community. You're going to get the replays. I know Evan's hanging out in that Facebook group. So, if you do need to hit him up for a date, let us know. We'll try to keep it mostly about entrepreneurship and service. But, that's what the private message feature is for, right?
Apparently it's the same, right? This is what we've learned. So,
right? It's all about dating apps.
And yeah, definitely. I will be in that group if anyone wants to message me from there, or I'm always on Twitter or Peaceful Fruits Facebook. Like, as a entrepreneur, pretty much all those email addresses go straight to me. So I don't really have people yet.
Startup life.
That's right. So info at whatever number it is, just give me a call or an email, and I'm always happy to talk to anybody that's working on something or thinking about working something or wants to be one of my interns.
There you go. All right, Evan, thank you so much. And to our incredible audience who's been here tonight, we really do appreciate you guys. And we'd like to remind you that we do have 2 more nights of this. We're talking about service. We're talking about entrepreneurship. Apparently, we're talking dating apps. That was unintentional. It's going to be a great event tomorrow night, 5 p.m. Pacific time. We'll see you then.